Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. Now with the help of some of the other guys from my Discord server, we have come up with a pretty good Andras overview and how we can best deal with Andras. I know I'm dealing with Andras difficulty 13 only, and the reason for that is because I'm still a little bit far behind on like APEP and all that kind of stuff, so I cannot proceed past Andras 13 right now. However, huge shout out to Freezy, he has already done Andras 16 on his PTR account. That is insane, man. He has massive investment put into that account. So I've learned a lot from watching some Discord streams, and I have compiled together a bunch of stuff that would kind of like explain Andras and give you guys a better idea of what kind of Espers you want to bring into this one particular new boss fight, which is honestly not super challenging, but it's just extremely lengthy. As you can see, I'm currently taking 5.5 minutes on Andras 13, but this timer can even go up to 7 minutes or even 11 minutes on Andras 16. So the difference there is massive. And the 8 memo chip run actually requires you to complete the Andras 16 within 130 turns, which is super freaking fast. I have trouble understanding how that's going to be possible for the time being, but I'm pretty sure that in the future they are going to be releasing more Espers that's just going to make the job a little bit easier. But main thing to take note of is that Hilda actually makes a very big difference, because as you can see here, I'm not using Hilda. My turns taken is 186, but if I include Hilda, that is actually going to reduce by quite a lot. But first, let's take a look at Andras and his skill kit once again. We're going to run this on the side while I'm talking about Andras. Okay, so Andras' passive ability allows it to deal massive damage and reduces the crit damage taken by both it and its followers. So crit damage done to the boss and the adds would actually be reduced by, I think, 25%. I'm not super sure where I saw the number, but I'm pretty sure I saw it unless I was dreaming. Anyway, first skill here attacks one single enemy, reduces their AP, and the lower the enemy's HP percentage, the higher the damage. So it's just a single target nuke, that's it. Now, second skill, attacks all enemies, inflicts defense down for several turns, which I think is 2 turns, can't really recall. Calls in followers to assist afterwards. Now, if there are no surviving followers, dispels all enemy buffs, cannot be resisted, and if there are surviving followers, my bad, dispels all enemy buffs, and if there are no surviving followers, you then summon several followers at the cost of a certain percentage of his HP. Now resets this ability cooldown when all followers are killed. Next, attacks all enemies, deals extra true damage based on attack, and inflicts gangrene for several turns. 3 turns in fact. And what gangrene does is it reduces the healing that your team receives by 70%. So that kind of like nullifies some of your healers to a certain extent, but healing is still quite relevant, I would say. Now the fewer the target is the higher damage and deals extra true damage to enemies without buffs. And gangrene is an undispellable debuff, you cannot cleanse it, right? Greatly reduces healing received, like I said, 70%. And finally, his passive here, he and the rest of his adds are all immune to AP down effects. Even his adds, right? So when Andras does not have any debuffs, he will deal extra damage. So it's very important that you have debuffs on Andras. But take note that Andras 16 actually has extremely high resistance to poison only. So you can still land other kinds of debuffs like slow debuffs and all that kind of stuff. So having Espers like Kara is going to be very important because she has a slow debuff. You can run Espers like Ife as well with the attack down, also very important. So those are some really good choices here. And increases his own crit rate upon entering combat, which is I think 50%. So as long as you have less than 50% of crit rate, then you should be fine. The reason is because when attacking targets with the higher crit rate than himself, he will deal extra crit damage. He will do extra damage, my bad, and dispels all their debuffs and extends all their ability cooldowns to the max number of turns, and it cannot be resisted. So as long as you have more crit than Andras, you are kinda clapped. Now, Andras allies take significantly more non-crit damage and significantly less crit damage, and that includes poisons as well. Poisons are actually a lot improved over here. Now, when an ally takes critical damage, Andras AP is increased, triggers once per turn, and at the start of Andras' turn, all ally debuff durations are reduced, and after a certain number of actions, his damage just goes up. Okay, so the thing is, when an ally takes critical damage, Andras' AP is increased. You might be thinking, okay, then I'll just run like, you know, less crit, but not like 50% or more, right? The thing is, you want to reduce your crit all the way to as low as possible, even at 15, because as long as you crit, right, any kind of crit, even if you had 20% crit rate, that still has a good chance of critting because there's 5 enemies here, and as such, Andras is actually going to gain AP afterwards, which sucks. So it's very important the endgame build definitely has to be 0 crit rate. I think that's like the most important thing if you want to have like much faster runs, or at least much safer runs without having to worry about like healing and all that kind of stuff. So I've actually gone ahead to do a pretty, I would say it's an okay job of an overview regarding Andras. And I've actually just narrowed down all of his main effects down to like just the key points. Okay, so his first skill, damages one target, that's it. Second skill, AoE defense down damage and resets cooldown if its allies are defeated. So his second skill itself will have his cooldown reset. If he still has allies alive, then he will call in allies to attack and strips all enemy buffs afterwards. If he does not have any allies, he will then summon new allies and he loses some HP. I think that's about somewhere about 50 to 100% of his entire HP bar, just his HP bar here, one of them out of 5. And his S3 AoE attack and inflicts gangrene and deals more damage to enemies without buff. So it's quite important that you have some kind of buff on your team, right? So in this case, I have Laura, I have Clara, and I have also Jacob also, yeah. They will provide some kind of buff which would then mitigate this extra damage that we are going to receive. So it's quite important that you have like those small little things. And as you can see, Clara is not really healing much because of the gangrene debuff that we have. It's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is. And I think we're going to fail this run actually. I have a feeling. Okay, no, we are fine, we are fine. Okay, so here are all of his passives distilled into just a few texts. So he has 7 main passives over here. The first is he's immune to AP down. Actually, all of his allies as well, they are all immune to AP down. And passive number 2 deals more damage when without debuffs. So it's important that you have debuffs on the boss, but like I said, he actually has increased poison resistance, and that is more it's more obvious at Andras 15 and 16, right? Not so obvious at below that. So we are still currently in the safe zone. Now, passive number 3 deals more damage to targets with more crit rate, strip their buffs. Passive number 4 gains AP if his allies take critical damage, and passive number 5, allies take more non-critical damage and allies take less critical damage. And passive number 7, allies debuff durations are reduced whenever Andras takes a turn. So you notice that when Andras takes a turn, which is in just a few moves here, all of his allies, right, they will actually have one of their debuffs removed, right? I can't really check. I can't really see. But yeah, this is something that he does as well. And actually, there is a very curious strategy if you guys do not have Hilda. Okay, if you have Hilda, it's important that you target the boss because Hilda has buff extends on her first skill and her second skill as well. But if you do not have Hilda, I think it's quite important that you adopt this strategy that I found, which is essentially go to battle settings, click boss battles auto attack sequences, and just move Andras all the way to the bottom. So what you're doing here is you are prioritizing killing these ads first before the boss. Reason being, you want the boss to keep having his second skill cut his own HP. That is going to help you with your DPS. And at the same time, by killing off all these ads, they are not going to attack you, right? And you're going to yada yada. You kind of get it, right? So it is a valid strategy to kill off all of his ads instead of killing the boss directly. But the thing is, like I said, if you have a Hilda, that completely changes, right? If you have a Hilda, you want to target the boss. Now, strategy number 2, spam poisons. And strategy number 3, this is for I've problem reading his name. Andras 16. All the ads have 486k HP. What about Andras 13? Let's take a look. He's gonna summon them, and the ads have 203k. So, like I said, Andras 16, the ads have more than twice the amount of HP, which is insane. So poisons are extremely important. Can you imagine trying to DPS down 486k? I don't think so. So you will need to use poisons. And what you would be a bit curious to understand is that each poison stack actually deals 7.2% of the enemy's HP in this mode, and that is because of this part over here. Allies take more non-critical damage. This is the important thing, right? So your poisons are also non-critical damage, and therefore they will actually do 80% more damage than usual. So from 4%, we are now dealing 7.2% HP per pop. As you can see here, I have 6 stacks of poison, and this guy, this ad over here, he's actually taking 210k damage, which is 35k per pop. So 35k out of 486k, that is 7.2%. Alright, so how long was this run? I was like just done with like the bulk of it. Almost 7 minutes. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna shift this line a little bit. I'm gonna show you the difference between using this team versus using a Hilda team. So for Hilda, we can probably replace some Espers here. We might... I'm thinking maybe you can get rid of the Clara here. Okay, so let's put in a Hilda, and okay, to be honest, Lian is also really good. So Lian is actually one of the best healers for this current content. So we're gonna put in a Hilda here, and let's just see how this works. Is there any difference in our runtime? Is there any difference in the number of turns that we need? Because as you can see, we're taking a shit number of turns. Okay, so I've also distilled down the Espers, or like what's needed in this content, down into 5 main roles. Okay, so we have the buffers because we need to have buffs. If not, Andras actually deals more damage to us, right? Deals more damage to enemies without buffs. So we need buffers, and that will come in the form of either Lian, who has defense buff, shoot buff, and that's it. Or Abigail, who has a lot of buffs. Not tested, by the way, but I think Abigail is actually not that bad. I think she's actually okay. And we have Jacob for the Fangs buff, and we also have Laura for just a constant buff. Actually, Laura is actually pretty good. Okay, so the reason why some of these Espers are green, some of these Espers are black, some of these Espers are italicized, is because green is just best in slot, black is just normal, just decent, and italicized is just a bit iffy, maybe not so good, right? Okay, so as for supports, we're talking about healers, we're talking about anything that isn't just buff related. So we have Clara here, who is not necessarily buff related because you might not be able to fully heal your allies to give them a shield. So Clara's a decent support because she does cleanse debuffs, and at the same time, she may provide some shields, but for the most part, she pushes AP as well, which is why she's so good. Same reason why Asenath is not bad as well. This is just completely speculation, but I do feel like Asenath is also decent because she has damage mitigation, she has AP push, she takes a lot of turns, and she gets her third skill up again. So I think she's okay. I think she's alright. Now, Meredith, I think, is not that good because she primarily heals. Aside from healing, she does have the speed up buff. She also has a speed lead, which is probably the main reason why I use her. So speed up buff and a speed lead, essentially. So I think she's okay. She's decent. Now, next, we have Poison Espers, and all these 4 Espers are really good. Now, the thing is, some of you guys might be thinking of using Hall. I'm not super sure that Hall is going to be good, to be honest. Okay, wait, hold on. We are using a Hilda here, so I should be targeting the boss, right? My bad, I forgot. So we need to extend all the poisons on the boss. So go to battle settings and just turn off this, or maybe we can just prioritize Andras like so. Continue, and we are just going to target the boss from here on. Okay, all these 4 Espers are really good at poison, but you might want to use Hall because he has a lot extra poisons. But the problem with that is you do not have a lot of single target attacks on this lineup. I mean, for the most part, you have Kara, you have Ife, you have Jacob, Hilda. All these Espers are AoE damage dealers, so you're not going to be using Hall that much, and I personally feel like he's not going to carry that much weight. Okay, next we have the non-crit DPSers, which is essentially just Ginny. I did consider using Intisa, who turned out to be really shit, but Ginny, believe it or not, is actually quite shit for this it's actually quite shit for this content. For some reason, she's just not carrying a lot, she's not pulling her weight, and the damage that she's dealing is just not good enough. It's more important that you just use Poison DPS, because as you can see here, just 6 stacks of Poison is able to do 210k damage, right? Insane stuff. And now, debuff extenders, this is kind of like fun stuff, so Hilda is definitely the best. Hilda is insane, like all these debuffs here is just gonna keep on perpetuating because Hilda is amazing here. She's definitely built for this, she is sold for this content. And we have Tricky and Kara, and the reason why I feel like this... Okay, hold on. I need to explain why Kara is here because you might not even understand, and we just cleared this just right on time. Okay, so the thing is, Tricky may not be really good here because he triple hits, which means he has a good chance of critting. And if he crits, that is bad because you're gonna push the AP of the boss. Holy shit, 3.5... Do you see that? We essentially halved our time just because we have Hilda over here. I mean, okay, you can argue that we ran 2 debuffers and now we have 3 debuffers, so that's probably the reason why. Yes, you are right. And I just realized how dumb I am for making this comparison, including Hilda here, but I have tested with and without Hilda with, like Ife for example. Hilda makes the biggest difference just because of the number of poison stacks that she can apply and the debuff extensions that she has on her second and her first skill as well. So Hilda is amazing. You might want to like fully skill up to have like super fast runs here. But yeah, so that is Hilda. And okay, so the reason why I included Kara here, even though you guys might be like, what? Kara doesn't extend debuffs. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so we take a look at the passive here, right? Upon successful inflicting of poison, poison plus 1 turn. So apparently this is a bug. I'm not sure what the bug is. I'm not sure whether the bug is the wording itself that is suggesting that she will extend the poison durations, or is it that she inflicts 1 more stack of poison. So what her passive does right now is if you land a poison on any of her attacks, she would actually land 1 extra 2-turn stack and 1 extra 1-turn stack. That is what her passive does, which, like I said, I am not sure what the bug is over here. Now, finally, to end off this video, we have a bunch of equipment sets that I think are really good here. Okay, so we have the Enchanted set, which is very, very self-explanatory. I feel like, as for the Enchanted set, all of these Espers, all the Poison Espers over here, right? They all work really well with the Enchanted set, except maybe Ife, who could be really good with the Avatara set because of her first skill. And if you guys need to understand why that is the case, if you take a look at Ife's first skill here, right? So when she attacks, she inflicts poison for 2 turns, but she will then pursue with her first skill again for more poison attack. So if you have Avatar on her, she's going to double poison, which is, I think it's not bad. I mean, it's either the Avatara set or the Enchanted set, but I do feel like Avatar is not bad. And of course, the Ocean set is really good. So the Ocean set is just going to cycle all of your skills very fast, and you're just going to throw a lot of poisons, which is really good, especially for Jacob, right? You kind of want him to cycle his fangs a lot more because the enemies just land a lot of AoE attacks. Okay, so now finally the relief set here, I feel like it's a bit iffy. Number 1, because you can only get the relief set by doing this mode itself. And number 2, if you're going to be running the Ocean set on some of your Espers, you're not even going to be using a normal attack all that much because you're going to use your second and third skills more often. So that kind of takes away from the relief set unless you're running like, Laura and stuff like that. So all in all, this is a collection of my findings and some of the others from my Discord server as well. So huge shout out to Agni, Freezy, RTR as well. And yeah, there were a whole bunch of you guys just watching our runs a little bit earlier on. But yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Derek Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.